Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Okay. Okay. Uh, just a minute. So in block four, today we will discuss about marginal costing. Uh, so in standard costing in your chapter block three, standard costing is what? Standard costing is the cost when we recorded the past cost which already have occurred. Then we have to compare it with the standard cost, and if any uh, variations are there, then we have to take necessary steps to control or to correct that variations. Okay. So there are so many variances like material variances, labor variance, overhead variance. We have to calculate them individually. Then the next chapter, that is marginal costing. So before we discuss about marginal costing, we have to know first what is marginal cost. So marginal cost is that cost, or it is the increase or decrease in the total cost which results from producing or selling one extra unit or one extra additional unit of a commodity, or from a change in the method of production or distribution. If we change some factors of production or some factors of distribution, then for that result, the cost that amount of cost which will increase or decrease in the total cost, we call them marginal cost. It is that amount at any given volume of output by which the total cost are changed if the volume of output is increased or decreased by one extra unit of output. So that is called marginal cost. Then marginal costing is what? That is the method. Marginal costing is a method of calculating the cost of production of the marginal cost techniques applicable to the existing method to find out the effects of profits if any changes are made in the volume of output or in the volume of output production. Okay. So the Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of London define marginal costing as it is the ascertainment of marginal cost and of the effect on profit of changes in volume or type of output by differentiating between the fixed cost and variable cost. So in this technique of costing, only variable costs are changed to operations, process or products, for the fixed costs are to be written off against the profits in the period in which they arise. So in marginal costing, it mainly considers the variable cost, and we have to change the volume of only the variable cost. The fixed cost will remain constant. Okay, and it will be written off against the profit in a period in which they arise. So this is the basic things of marginal costing, and this costing is mainly a very important technique that is used in various business organizations for the analysis and presentation of cost, which can be very much helpful for the management in taking various important managerial decisions. Okay. So the marginal cost is also regarded as the variable cost, because in this process we have to change only the variable factors of the cost of production. Okay, and the fixed costs are treated as the period cost, which are changed to profit and loss account for the period for which they are incurred. So these are the basic things of marginal costing. Okay. Then we come to the break-even. We will come to the break-even analysis. What is break-even analysis and what is cost, volume, and profit analysis? So before discussing about break-even analysis, we will discuss about cost, volume, and profit analysis. Okay, so cost, volume, and profit analysis is what? It is a tool that provides the management various useful information which may be helpful for the managerial planning as well as for the decision making. We know every organization's main motive is to earn profit and is to maximize its profit and to minimize its cost. So profit of a business firm are the result of the combination of different factors. Okay, there may be some variable factors, some fixed factors. The profits of the business firm is the result of the combination of different factors. They are mainly the selling prices, volume of sales, variable cost on a per unit basis, total fixed cost, sales mix, etc. Okay. So in order to take effective decision and also to manage the organization very efficiently, we have to take the plans which have much more importance for the organizations. We have to consider only those plans which play a very important role to achieve the organizational goals. So cost, volume, profit analysis is what? It is a systematic method of examining the relationships between the selling prices, the total sales revenue, volume of production, your expenses and profits. Okay. Then your cost, expenses and profits, then the total fixed cost, etc. And the cost, volume, profit analysis also play a very important role which provide various relevant information to the management regarding the financial result of the product. Okay, so information on probable effects of change in selling price and other variables. So from these discussions, we have a clear idea about that CVP analysis plays a very important role for the organization in order to analyze the financial results of the organization for a particular time period. Okay. So CVP analysis is also used in setting at the time of setting selling prices. What will be the selling prices? CVP analysis also helps the organization selecting the product mix. What will be the product mix? What types of products are to be there in a product mix? If there are so many alternatives are available for the marketing strategy, then which alternatives we have to adopt? Okay. Then analyzing the effect of cost increases, decreases on the profitability. So this type of things can be efficiently achieved with the help of cost, volume, and profit analysis. Okay. So in this cost, volume, and profit analysis, here there are mainly three concepts, and the break-even analysis concept is also in the cost, volume, and profit analysis. Okay. So before discussing the break-even analysis, we have to know what are the three techniques which are involved at the time of cost, volume, and profit analysis. So there are mainly three techniques we know. The first one is known as contribution, okay, or that is also known as the contribution margin concept. Then the second one is the break-even analysis. Then the third one is the profit volume analysis. So what is contribution? Contribution is that amount. It is the amount which is the excess of the sales revenue over the variable expenses. So the contribution amount is always calculated by deducting the variable cost from the sales price or from the total sales price. Okay. So the contribution margin fixed expenses are deducted, giving finally operating income or loss. So that is called the contribution margin concept. Then we will come to the break-even analysis. Okay. So what is break-even analysis? Break-even analysis Break-even analysis stresses the relationship and the factors affecting profit. Okay. A break-even analysis indicates at what level cost and revenue are in equilibrium. It is that point of time at which the cost and revenue are in a same position or are in equilibrium position. So the break-even point is what? The break-even point is the point or sales level at which the losses cease and the profit begins and vice versa. Okay, or it can be described as the level at which the sales at which profits are zero and there is no loss. So the break-even point is also known as the point of no profit and no loss. Okay, and it also serves as a base indicating how many units of product must be sold if a company is to operate without loss. So from the break-even analysis, we can calculate the break-even, the units, then break-even and sales volume, and break-even sales volume in units also. So the break-even analysis in units, it can be calculated by taking the formula that fixed cost divided by contribution margin per unit, and we know contribution can be calculated as sales minus variable cost. Okay. And if we calculate the break-even sales volume, then it can be calculated by dividing the PV ratio fixed cost with the PV ratio. Okay. So PV ratio is what? PV ratio can be calculated by taking the formula like a contribution by sales, and we know contribution is equal to sales minus variable cost. Okay. So this is basically known as the break-even analysis, and from that break-even analysis, there are various concepts like margin of safety, angle of incidence. Okay, margin of safety and what is called angle of incidence. These are the basic concept which we can find from the break-even analysis. So the margin of safety is what? It is the difference between sales and the break-even point. And it is also the distance that is relatively short, and it indicates that a small drop in production or sales will reduce the profit considerably. And if the distance is long, it means that the business can still make profits even after a serious drop in production. Okay, and it can be calculated by dividing the PV ratio with the profit. So profit by PV ratio, or it can also be calculated as profit into sales whole divided by sales minus variable cost, or by contribution. And the angle of incidence is can be calculated, and it is known as the angle of incidence is known as the angle at which the sales line costs the total cost line. So management aims will be to have as large an angle of incidence as possible, because a large angle of incidence shows a high rate of profit, and a narrow angle would show that even fixed overheads are absorbed and profit accrues at a relatively low rate of return, indicating that variable cost from a large part of the sales. Okay. So this is the break-even analysis chart. Here see, this one is the break-even point where the total sales revenue line and the total cost line intersect each other. That is called the break-even line or break-even point. That point is known as the break-even point, and in that point the loss, the profit, and there is no profit and there is no loss. It is also known as the point of equilibrium. And this one is the total cost line, and this one is the total sales line. Okay. and this space is known as angle of incidence. This is known as the break-even point. This line is the sales revenue line. Okay, and here this space is known as the margin of safety. Okay, so break-even chart. So there is also another concept that is known as cash break-even point, and the cash break-even point can be calculated as a total cash fixed cost divided by cash contribution margin per unit, or total cash fixed cost by PV ratio. So these are the basic concepts of break-even analysis, marginal costing, and cost volume profit analysis. Then we will come to the chapter decision making. What is the relevant cost for decision making, pricing decisions, and responsibility accounting. Okay. So okay. So what is decision making? We know in an organization we have to take always the decision very wisely. Okay, because sometimes if you take one wrong decision, then that will occur a huge amount of loss. Okay, so whatever the decision we will take, we have to consider so many factors, and we have to take that decision very cautiously. Okay. Okay, so there are the decisions are mainly of two types: short-run decisions and long-run decisions. The short-run decisions are basically taken for 1 year. Within 1 year, our decision we have to take the decisions for 1 year, and the decisions will implement for the time of 1 year. Then we will tell we can call that a short-run decision, and the long-run decision is that the decision which we will take and the result can be enjoyed by the organizations for more than 1 year. That may be 4 to 5 years, 6 years, or that may be 10 years. Okay, so both decisions are very much relevant for the organizations. So what is decision making? Okay, we to take the short run decisions as well as the long run decisions efficiently and effectively for the achievement of the organizational goals is known as wise decision making. Okay, so the short run decisions are also known as operating decisions. Okay, which may be period during the operating capacity of a business. For example, some examples of short-run operating decisions are product mix decisions, make or buy decisions, accepting special orders, add or drop a product, buy or lease, pricing decisions. These are known as short-run decisions. So long run decisions are the decisions, they are also known as capital budgeting decisions, because the long run decisions we have to take those decisions for a long period of time, and these decisions focus on changing the operating capacity of a business enterprise. Okay, it is mainly concerned with the acquisition of long term assets. Okay, the result can be enjoyed by the organizations for a long period of time, or it may be used by the organization for a long period of time. Okay. So decision making is the process of evaluating two or more alternatives leading to a financial choice or leading to a final choice. It is sometimes known as the alternative choices decisions, because we know whenever we take any decisions, always we have so many alternatives. Okay, and we have to choose one among them. So at that time, we have to choose very wisely that which alternative will be more useful and will be more profitable for our organization. Okay, any doubt?
Hello. Decision making,
Hello?
accepting an order is a short term
Yes,
decision, ma'am.
decision making.
Ma'am, for accepting a order is a short term decision or what, ma'am?
This is, I can't hear you.
Ma'am,
Please tell loudly.
ma'am, accepting an order is one type of decision, ma'am. Short term or long term?
Accepting an order.
Yes, ma'am.
Accepting an order is not a decision. Decision means, for example, accepting an order, in which sense you are telling that accepting an order, the accepting an order in the sense it may be applied in different types of organizations. If you are a subordinate and your authority gives you a order, then you have to accept that. A order means if your authority gives you a suppose one target to produce 500 products within 15 days. Okay, you have to obey
Yes,
him.
ma'am.
That is the
I'm
order
saying
for
about
you.
this order.
But the decision is what? The decision is that which is taken by your authority to produce 50 units of product within 15 days. Can you get my point?
Ma'am, please repeat,
First,
ma'am.
yes, okay, listen. Decision making means, suppose in your organization one machinery is there and that machinery becomes very old and outdated. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
and you have to purchase one new machinery. Okay, and
Okay.
that the cost of that machinery is rupees 5 crore. Okay,
Okay.
so in that case, you have to take a decision whether we have to purchase that machinery or not. First you have to decide whether we have to purchase that machinery or not. Okay, then so in that case you have to inquiry, in that situation you have to check that machinery whether that machinery is operating well or not, or for sometimes can we use that old machinery or not. Okay, then if you after checking and you get a conclusion that you have to purchase one updated machinery. Okay, then you have to take a decision what much amount you have to spend to purchase that machinery, because there are so many models are available in the market. There may be the machineries are mainly sold in the market according to their capacity basis, so you have to take a decision that your capacity was what, and what much fund is available with you at that time. According to that, by considering so many factors, you have to take a decisions at what time and with what much amount of money you have to purchase that machinery. Okay, and that machinery will last for 5 to 6 years. So in that case you have to take a decisions. You have so many alternatives in the market also. You have to take a decisions what alternatives you have to accept. Okay, so that in that case that is known as a long term decisions, because that machinery will work for a long period of time. But order and decision making are different. Order is what, your authority gives you an order. Okay, your authority gives you some assignment or some duty and you have to obey him. Okay, he can order you, an authority can order his subordinate. Okay, but decision making is a different thing. Okay, so short run can you understand short run decision and long run
Yes,
decision
ma'am.
is what?
I'm saying about order
Short
for
run
goods, supply of goods, ma'am.
order for supply
Goods.
of goods. Uh, okay, then order means who will order?
When we receive an order, we got an order for supply of goods.
you got an order for supply of goods, supply of product. Okay, that order, you received that order from your boss
From
or from your
outsiders.
authority, from outsiders.
Yes,
Acha.
ma'am.
Okay, okay. From outsiders you receive an order uh, send product, to send your product to him.
Yes, ma'am.
This okay, this is called selling. This is not decision making. Okay, you have to sell your
Okay, ma'am.
product. You receive a order, you receive a requisition ki that much amount of products will require by that particular client, and you have to provide him. That is called sale.
Okay,
Okay, or you have to purchase some raw material from a supplier. That is called purchase. Okay, but
okay,
decision
ma'am.
making mainly used in case of when you have to implement some new plans. Okay, if you want to want some reforms in your organization, if you want to change your work structure of your organization. Okay, and if you want to build a factory building, to to improve your factory building, or to change some inside infrastructure of your company. Okay, these type, when some huge amount of money will be involved, that is called decision making, and that will come under long run decision making. And short run decision making is what, in your day to day operating, some decisions you have to take, like operational product mix decision, make or buy decision. Okay, accepting special orders. But they all involves a huge amount of expenditure. Okay, so these are basically known as the decision making. The decision making may be quantitative or it may be qualitative also. In quantitative decision making is what, in those decision making, those decisions which you have to spend some money, or you have to receive some money. Okay, so for decision making, first you have to identify and define the problem. What is the problem of your organization? Then identify the alternatives as possible solutions to the problem. What are the alternatives are available to you? Okay, because for every problem there are the solution are many, and you have to accept that solution. Uh, that solution which will help you to resolve your problem with a very short period of time, or with immediately. Okay, then you have to eliminate the alternatives that are clearly not visible. Okay, so there are so many alternatives, and you have to choose one alternative among them. So you have to arrange those alternatives in a priority basis. What alternatives you have to accept first, and if that alternative will rejected, then you have to accept another alternatives. Then collect relevant data associated with each and feasible alternative. Identify cost and benefits as relevant or irrelevant, and eliminate irrelevant cost and benefits from consideration. Then in the next step, you have to identify to the extent possible non-financial advantages and disadvantages. Okay. Then in the next step, total the relevant cost and benefits for each alternatives. Then you have to select the alternative with the greatest overall benefit and make a decisions. Then you have to implement or execute the decisions. Then you have to evaluate the results, and finally the decisions will be made. So these are the process and the steps which are involved at the time of decision making. Okay. So there are so many there may be so many relevant informations, because before taking the decisions you have to consider so many informations and so many factors. So some informations may be relevant and some of them may be irrelevant, but you have to analyze them and take only those informations which will be relevant for your decision making. Okay. Then what precautions you should have take at the time of decision making? You have to analyze the cost. What type of cost is that? That is a sunk cost, or that is a unitized fixed cost, allocated fixed cost. You have to analyze the opportunity cost, etc. Okay. And types and differential analysis of decisions are like make or buy, and insourcing or outsourcing decisions. Okay. Then there is drop or add a product. If we make or buy decision means Suppose you have a automobile company, and you know the automobile products, that is the cars and bikes, are called as automobile products, and these products are mainly made up by assembling so many other products. Okay, like if you have to build a car, you have to assemble like a tire and his body part and so many hardware things. So in a automobile company, the company has to purchase the assemblies parts from so many different companies. Okay, so at that time, sometimes what will happen, uh, some of the assembling part, if you buy that product from the outside market, then you may incur more, or incur a large amount of expenditure than if you make them in your own company, or you if you make them on yourselves. Okay, then you can incur much more less amount than by purchasing them from the outside. So at that time you have to analyze that whether we will purchase that those raw materials or those parts from outside, or we will make them by using our own company. So that is called the make or buy decision. At that time you have to take the decisions. So it is referred to as the insourcing versus outsourcing decisions. The company to buy certain raw materials or sub assemblies from outside supplier, or to use your available capacity to produce those items within your company. If you have those infrastructure, that infrastructure is also available with you, that you can also able to produce those products which you are purchasing from outside. Then you can use your own company to produce your own capacity to produce that product rather than buying from outside. Okay, so that you can incur very less expenditures than buying them from outside, and it can reduce and control your operating cost, improve your company focus, then gain access to world class capabilities, free internal resources for other purposes, etc. That is called make or buy decision. Then there is also drop or add a product. If you have a product line, or if initially you have a company in which you produce suppose for example you produce only hair shampoos. Okay, if your product is performing very well in the market, then you think you will add some another products. Okay, like if you think to add body soaps or body wash. Okay, then at that time you have to take the distance wisely, whether if you add any another product, that product will also perform like your previous product or not. At that time you have to take a decisions like this. At the time of dropping a product, if you have a product line and there are so many products you are already you are already selling in the market. Okay, sometimes there are so many companies, and they have so many products in under one brand. They have so many products like Hindustan Unilever. They are selling so many products like body soap, shampoo, and so there are also so many cosmetics product in the market. So we can't tell all their product are performing well in the market. No, some of them are some of them, the share of the sales, some of the products are performing well and some of them are not. So when you see continuously for 4 to 5 consecutive years, for in case of one product there is occurring huge amount of losses, then at that time you have to also take a decisions to drop that product. But those decisions will have to take very wisely, because sometimes some products will not performing well for some years, but sudden their demand will rise. So at that time you have to consider so many factors and take a wise decisions to drop or add a product. Okay, when you to drop a product at the time of when the customer complaints are increasing, the shipments returns are increasing, sales volume declining. Okay, when you see these type of things are occurring, then you can consider to drop that product. There are also sale or process further, you can take those that decisions also. Operator shutdown decisions, special order decisions, then replace or retain. Okay, buy or lease. Okay. There are so many things which you can take into consideration at the time of decision making. Okay. Then we come to the pricing decisions. Pricing decision is what? So pricing of a product or service refers to the fixation of a selling price to a product or service. Uh, Pricing decisions, when you have to take some pricing decisions, suppose you make a product in your company. At the time of deciding the price, at the time of deciding the cost of that particular product, okay, the price of that particular product, what will be the right price for that particular product. Okay, at that time you have to consider so many factors and decide, and have to decide the price of that product. Because you don't decide the product price accurately and the product price wisely, then your product may not perform well, because there are so many competitors in the market and the price varies. Suppose for example, if you take an example of Maggi and Ippi, okay, their price are same. Okay, if uh, Maggi will increase its price rupees 1, then it will also impact to a great extent to the company. Okay. So at the time of deciding the price of a product, we have to consider so many factors, like the cost data of the product, which may be actual, replacement, standard, or any other cost base, firm's profit and other objectives, then demand for the product or service and its elasticity, the nature of the product and its life expectancy, pricing decisions, okay, types of competition for the product, number of suppliers in the market, economic and political climate, types of industry to which the product belongs, and also you have to consider the government guidelines. So at the time of deciding the price of a particular product, you have to consider these factors. There are different methods of pricing. The total cost plus or full cost plus pricing, then your marginal cost plus pricing, differential cost plus pricing, standard cost, etc. There are also short run and long run pricing decisions. Okay, so short-run decision is what? Short-run decisions include the pricing for a one-time only a special order with no long-term implications. It is known as short-run pricing decisions. And the long-run pricing decision is what? It is the decisions which are not appropriate for long-run pricing policy, since short-run pricing policy is subject to some short-run demand and supply conditions. So most of the firm use full cost information while setting the long run pricing decisions. Okay, so these are basically the pricing decisions, and these are the methods of pricing. Okay. Okay, another important chapter in your block 5 is responsibility accounting. We'll discuss something about that. Okay. Okay, so what is responsibility accounting? Responsibility accounting is the it is also one type of accounting. Okay, that is the process that reports how well managers of different responsibility center. Okay, in an organizations, there are the organizations is divided into so many responsibility center. Okay, so before discussing the responsibility accounting, we have to know first what is responsibility center. Okay, so responsibility, from the word responsibility, we know responsibility means some works or some assignment which are assigned to a particular person, that is called his or her responsibility. So a responsibility center means an area of responsibility which is controlled by an individual. For example, if we call a finance manager, so that area of finance is controlled by that particular manager, and it is the responsibility of that particular manager who will control only the area of finance. Okay, so the responsibility center is that which is the area of responsibility. It is controlled by an individual, and a responsibility center is an activity such as department over which a manager exercises his responsibility. And the responsibility areas may be departments, product lines, territories, or any other type of identifiable unit or combination of unit. So there are so many responsibility centers like their cost center, revenue center, and profit center, investment center. Okay, so what is cost center? A cost or expenses center is a segment of an organization in which the manager are held responsible for the cost incurred in that segment but not for the revenues. So in cost center, the manager are responsible only for the cost for that particular segment, but they are not responsible for any revenues. So responsibility in a cost center is restricted only to cost. For planning purposes, the budget estimates are cost estimates, and it is used for the control purposes, performance evaluation, and it is also guided by the cost variance equal to the difference between the actual and budgeted cost of a given period. So that is the basic work or basic duty of a cost center. Then revenue center is also like cost center. In that case, the manager is only responsible for the revenue. Okay, and it is a segment of that organization which is primarily responsible for generating only sales revenue. So a revenue center manager does not possess control over cost, investment in asset, but usually has control over some of the expenses of the marketing department. The profit center is that segment or is that part of an organization whose managers responsible is both revenues and cost. Okay, but in cost center, the manager's responsibility is only based on cost. He has no responsibility for generating revenue. Like that, in revenue centers, the manager's responsibilities is only involved with generating sales revenue, but he has no responsibility on cost. But in profit centers, the manager is responsible for both revenues and cost. Okay, and the manager has the responsibility and authority to make the decisions that affect both the cost and revenues. So this is the profit center. And finally, there is also one another responsibility center known as investment center. An investment center, it is also that part of an organization which is responsible for both profits and investment. Because you know, in an organization, how many departments are there? Their basic objective is to determine cost, to generate revenue, to calculate profit, and sometimes to make further investments. These activities are basically involved in an organization. So by considering all the activities in an organization, the responsibility centers are mainly divided into four types. First is known as profit cost center, then revenue center, then profit center, and then your investment center. So the investment center is responsible for both profits and investment. The investment center manager has control over revenue, expenses, and the amount invested in the recent assets. Okay. He has also to formulate the credit policy, which has a direct influence on debt collection, and the inventory policy, which determine the investment in inventory. Okay. So these are the basic responsibility centers in an organizations. So now we will study what is responsibility accounting. So responsibility accounting refers to the accounting process that reports how well the managers of various responsibility centers have fulfilled their responsibility. Whatever responsibilities are assigned to the managers, they how they are performing their responsibilities and how they are reporting their responsibilities, how well they are reporting, how well they are performing their responsibilities. That process is known as responsibility accounting, and it is also known as activity or profitability accounting. Okay, so it is an information system that also personalizes control reports and reporting cost and revenue information according to a defined responsibility center. Okay. So the areas of responsibilities are defined for which managers should be held responsible. Then managers are only charged with the items and responsibility over which they can exercise a significant degree of direct control. And also the managers should actively participate in establishing the goals or budget against which their performance is measured. So these are the basic things of responsibility accounting. You have to go through them thoroughly. Okay. So then what is responsibility performance reporting? So responsibility performance reporting means the reporting phase of responsibility accounting. Responsibility reporting has basically two purposes. The first one is to determine the degree of performance in the area of responsibility for which the responsibility manager is directly responsible, then to formulate measures to improve the performance of the responsibility center manager. There are also responsibility centers and cost centers. Okay, and whoever has the responsibility, he has to perform his responsibility. Responsibility reporting cost center, responsibility reporting for profit centers. Okay, then in responsibility after preparing the responsibility reporting, then here we will come to the point measuring of divisional performance. So what is measuring of divisional performance? This is also one part of responsibility accounting. So performance measurement is aimed in respect of all responsibility centers. Okay. The measuring divisional performance means it has to measure, or its basic aim is to measure all the responsibilities assigned to different responsibility centers, whether dealing with a cost, profit, or investment center. So performance can only be evaluated by comparing results with something. So probably the best way to encourage managers to act in the firm's best interest is to measure their performance in relation to budgeted results. Okay. So performance measurement criteria must be clear. This will help the divisional managers to decide on which items they should concentrate their efforts and resources. There are different measures and different techniques of financial performance. There are variance analysis, division contribution margin, division net profit, then return on investment, etc. There are so many methods which the measures which can be applied in the responsibility accounting system. So what is variable analysis, variance analysis? So variance analysis, it is of two types: cost variance analysis and revenue variance analysis. Okay. The performance of a cost centers can be evaluated using cost variance analysis by comparing the actual cost with the standard cost. Okay. And standard cost displays the cost centers should have incurred given their actual activity. So any variance between the actual cost and standard cost require corrective action by the management. On measuring the performance, attempts are made to minimize the cost of cost centers. Okay. And then if you come to the division contribution margin, then division contribution margin is mainly defined as the total division revenue less the direct cost of the division. This measure of performance emphasize the contribution of each division to overall company profit. Okay. So these are the basic different measures of financial performance of various responsibilities accounting. Okay. Okay. Have you any doubt? Hello. Have you any doubt?
No doubt.
Okay. In your block 4 and block 5, in your block 4, break-even analysis is very important. Okay. Break-even analysis, and in block 5, responsibility accounting and pricing decisions. These two chapters are very important. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, madam.
Then we'll meet in the next class. Okay. Thank you
Okay,
so
madam.
much.